Alright guys, walking along this gravelly path here, and kind of a common insect that you'll come across at night are earwigs. And they're in the family, well, this one's probably in the family Anisolibdidae, in the order Dermaptera. That's earwigs. I think it's in that family because it has, I can't see that well, but it seems to have fairly vestigial wings. And it's near the water, so we're near the river here. And this family tends to be found usually near sandy areas along riverbanks and such. And of course, being an earwig, it has these what are termed forceps at the posterior end of the body, and so these are modified cerci, which are usually filamentous in insects. And in a very primitive, sort of extinct Dermapteran groups, the forceps are still filamentous, but in the modern extant earwigs, they are these hardened forceps. And so what they're doing at night is they're just running along the substrate and looking for food, because earwigs generally are scavengers, kind of like scorpion flies. So they're looking for any dead insects or kind of decaying items to feed upon. Another interesting thing you might think about with earwigs is that these forceps, they're kind of similar to, oh, there it goes, somewhat similar to the mandibular horns of stag beetles. In stag beetles, the mandibular horns, well, they're enlarged mandibles in stag beetles, and mandibles are an appendage, a modified appendage, like the rest of the mouth parts. And the cerci, of course, these cerci in insects are also modified appendages. And so it's interesting to think that you have yet another instance of what you might call convergent evolution, where you have horns, or in this case, tusk-like protrusions in the form of these forceps on the posterior end of the body. While in stag beetles, you have tusk-like modified appendages on the front part of the insect. So there's around maybe 2,000 species of earwigs. And some of them have very short forceps, while others have quite long forceps. And they'll use them for defense, as well as fighting with other individuals. Usually, sometimes for mating, other times just aggressive purposes. Maybe they're fighting over food resources sometimes. And usually the male forceps are different in shape or maybe size than the female forceps. Another fascinating thing about earwigs is that they exhibit or the female exhibits care over her eggs. So when she lays eggs, usually in the substrate, she protects them. So she'll hang around the eggs, as well as after the eggs hatch, she will be with the newly hatched individuals for a short period of time before they go off on their own.